Jon Jones is the GOAT of MMA, but you can't say that without saying but. See, unlike any other sport in the world, the MMA GOAT case isn't quite as clear. You have multiple contenders, you have multiple fighters in the UFC right now who could be the GOAT, and you just don't have a clear answer. In most sports, you do. In football, it's either Messi or Ronaldo. In basketball, it's either LeBron James or Michael Jordan. In other sport that I can't really think of right now, there's either one or two or just one, right? But in MMA, there's so many names. You could put out GSP, you could put out Jon Jones, you could put out Demetrius Johnson, you could put out Anderson Silva, you could put out Khabib, you could put out Islam Makhachev, but still, there's so many people that you can put for GOAT case. Me personally, I think Jon Jones is the GOAT, but here's why there's always a but. You see, Jon Jones has one of the most stellar careers in MMA we've ever seen. He's practically never lost, even though his record is 28 and 1 and 1. But that one was by DQ to Matt Hamill, and if you watch that fight, Hamill was, never gonna win that fight. He has some of the craziest records in UFC history, such as being the youngest UFC champion ever, which is a record that has stood since 2011 when he won the light heavyweight title at 23 years old. He is a two division champion. He is arguably, or not arguably, he is the greatest light heavyweight of all time. And then he moves up to heavyweight and he beats one of the best heavyweights of all time and he becomes a champion. Now, Jon Jones has been fighting in the UFC since 2008, right? He's retired in 2024, but he has been fighting since 2008. That's a very long time, and he has never lost. His first fight was Andre Guzmão, and we don't need to talk about his first few fights because they were relatively easy fights. Or I don't want to say easy, but he dealt with them easily. But here's where it gets impressive. See, Jon Jones hasn't been in a non-title fight since March 19th, 2011. His first title fight was against Shogun Rua, where he dismantled him, and his last one was against Stipe Miocic in 2024, where he dismantled him. The longevity is insane. But here's why there's a but. See, for me, there's four stains on his legacy, and I'll go through each of them. Number one is that many people argue that he just fought retired or washed up middleweights. See, Jon Jones is 6'4", he has an 85-inch reach, and he walks around way above 205, which is where he spent most of his career, right? When you point to the names that he fought, such as Chael Sonnen, a career middleweight that had moved up, Vitor Belfort, another career middleweight, an aging Rampage Jackson, and Lyoto Machida, who's another middleweight, and Shogun being past his peak, you can point to some of his opponents and be like, these aren't the strongest defenses, these aren't the strongest names. But my counter argument to that is Gustafsson is a very good light heavyweight. Cormier, definitely a very good light heavyweight, double champ. Dominic Reyes was very dangerous when he fought him, and many people think Dominic Reyes did win that fight, so you can't even, talk about that fight. And most of them were real and in their prime, and he beat them fair and square. He in 2014, not 2020, Glover Teixeira. He beat Gustafsson twice. He beat Anthony Smith. He beat Thiago Santos, and he beat Rashad Evans and so on and so forth. These are really good names that he has beat. But when you get past that, you have to go to stain number two, the PED use. This is the big one for the GOAT crowd, right? In 2016, he got flagged for anti-estrogen agents. Before UFC 200, he was subsequently pulled from the card and suspended a year. In 2017, after knocking out Daniel Cormier at UFC 214, he tested positive for an anabolic steroid, resulting in an overturned no contest, and Cormier got the belt back, and Jones got handed a 15-month suspension. The infamous, doping scandals are the real, you know, stain on his case. You even have that infamous video of Jones testing positive, and Dana White has to break the news to Daniel Cormier, who spent months upon months preparing for the fight, and he even says he wants to fight him while he's on PEDs, which is, you know, fair play to Daniel Cormier, a lot of heart, love DC. But that is such a big stain on him that you can't look past that. I mean, I don't know much about baseball, but I know a baseball player had PED use. If I'm not mistaken, it's Barry Bonds, and many people don't have him as a GOAT because of that. Whenever there's a case of PED use, any player or athlete is automatically removed from the GOAT case. except Jon Jones because he's just that good. But then stain number three comes into play and his personal life. Personally, I think here's where you separate the art from the artist, even though Jon Jones is a terrible person. He is a terrible person. I cannot state this enough. He is a absolute terrible person. Objectively, if you're watching this, please don't beat me up. But his rap sheet is just terrible. In 2012, he had a DUI, which is driving under the influence, right? In 2015, he had a hit and run where he crashed into a pregnant woman and he ran. In 2020, he had another DUI and a firearm charge while he was intoxicated. In 2021, he had a domestic battery case against his wife. Countless so on and so forth. He's had multiple court hearings, he's had multiple mugshots, and like it's just terrible. Now, when I say separate art from the artist, when you're referencing the KD video I made, it's a lot different than burner accounts and just, being a bit weird. This is a lot more than burner accounts and being a bit weird, but you know, I don't want to talk about this too much. It's a bit heavy, but so far, we've established, three stains on his career, and there's a fourth, right? The first three stains, you can look past the personal life. You can look past his weak opponents because he had strong opponents and he beat them. So you can look past those two, right? You can't look past the PED use. And then there's the last stain, ducking. See, the cleanest example we have of this is Tom Aspinall. Now, we all remember when Jon Jones came back in 2023 after a 3-year layoff to bulk up to heavyweight, and he beat Cyril Gahn for the belt very easily. And then he spent about a year and a half dancing around fighting Tom Aspinall so that he can fight Stipe Miocic. And in that time, Tom Aspinall probably knocked out like three people and got the interim belt and was waiting to fight Jones. And just Jones was kept being like, no, I'm going to fight Stipe. I'm going to fight Stipe. I'm going to fight Stipe. And he fought Stipe, dismantling him, like everybody thought he would because Stipe was like 50 years old at that point. And many people, myself included, think that he should have taken the Aspinall fight because as somebody who has nothing left to prove, that one fight, had he taken Aspinall and beat him, would have silenced everybody in any form of criticism. Because Tom Aspinall is the most dangerous man on the planet right now, if you ask me. And he's one of the most dangerous heavyweights I've ever seen. And a true heavyweight, and probably the next generation of heavyweight. I don't think we're ever going to see, a fighter like Tom Aspinall at heavyweight, someone so mobile, so fast, so powerful, right? Had Jon Jones beaten Tom Aspinall, which I don't think he would have personally, but sorry for another day. Had he beaten Tom Aspinall, he would have undoubtedly left nothing more to be said about him. But he didn't. Now, to be honest, the reason I still see him as a GOAT, because if you go and watch the fights, Jon Jones has never looked like the worst fighter in any fight he's fought in. And in every title defense he's had, which is a lot, I mean, a lot. If you go pull up his fight history, you'd have to go back to 2011 for the last time he had a non-title fight, right? And in every single one of those title fights, he looked better. In most of them, Dominic Reyes, he probably won. I'm not gonna lie. But paper is paper. And on paper, you cannot ask for a more dominant career than Jon Jones. On paper, if you just go to his ESPN page and look at his fight history, you cannot ask for a better fight history page. But then you go deep dive into it and you realize there's PED cases, there's sexual no battery cases, there's so much that couldn't be said about Jon Jones that people stop considering him the GOAT. And I feel like I'm in a bit of a dilemma when I do say that he is the GOAT. But when you watch Jon Jones, you cannot look at him and be like, this isn't the greatest mixed martial arts of all time. That's me personally. Thank you.